This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hello, you Potter Than Hellions out there. Welcome to another episode of the Potter Than Hell podcast. My name is Steve Wright. I'm your host, and I am joined as always by my co-host,
BC. Hello, Hellions.
Hi, BC, and we have a special guest today. This is kind of a cool episode, and I think I say it every week that I'm really excited about the week's episode that we're doing, but I really am this week. We have a special guest, and she is recording live from the Rainbow in Los Angeles on the Sunset Strip, and it's Heather Chakiris. Hi, Heather.
Hey, gentlemen, and Steve. How are you?
Very good, very good. How's things out there in CA?
Sunny and pretty wild, and it's a beautiful day in Hollywood.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks for coming on with us, and we're actually just having our summer now here in Pennsylvania, so it's kind of sad when my grass finally turns brown and it's like September. Usually it's July, so we've had a terrible summer out here. Thanks for coming on, and I'm going to introduce, as always, our awesome producer here, Dylan.
Hi, everybody.
And my lovely wife, Corey, is in the studio today also, and she probably won't say hello, but we're going to say hello to her. And
Hi, Corey.
Oh, she's still not saying hello. Okay. Before we get into our discussion today, we are going to do our thank yous, and we're going to start with BC.
All right, people. We're going to start off with R.A. Fiorosi, Mark Arnold, our good rockin' brother, BB, Steve Dill, Gene Grossman. Good seeing you tonight, Gene. Cindy Russick, John Novobilski, Tamara Sweeney Wiley, Jim Perkowski, Jen Roberts Vanna, John Bean, Stephen Bonarczyk, Robert Jacobs, Shane Herbert, Trevor McDougall, Held Hotchkiss Band, Adam Cox, Rob Callis, and another good friend, Joe Mangieri.
All right, thanks, BC. I'm going to get into my thank yous, as always, and I thank my wife, Corey, for putting up with this. Dylan, as always, Mark Zatorka, guy that does our music, Matt Porter and Bobby Dreyer from the Kiss Room, Scott Sadowski, Stephen Michael, and Sonny Pooney from Growing Up Rock podcast. Those guys are awesome. I just did an episode this week with Stephen Michael on the Growing Up Rock podcast, and you guys will be hearing that in a couple weeks. Kaylin Provo, Nathan Pfizer, Steve Jaworski, Mark Hoover, Steve Campagna, who is our friend that was had some health problems, and he seems to be on the mend. Glad to hear it, Steve. Steve Grable, Ed Spangenberg, Antonis Galvis, Michelle Serra, Christine Gallinat Apostolico, Craig Thomas, David Hudson, and Chris Craig from the Digital Killed the Radio Star podcast. And I want to give a thank you to David. He sent BC, Dylan, and I really cool cozies for our beers here at the podcast, and it was very thoughtful of you guys to send them to us. We thank you. Amber Bitts, and I'm going to thank Heather. Heather, thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Can I do a shout out to my hometown of German, Pennsylvania?
Absolutely. And it's funny, I have to say that Heather and I were born on the same exact day.
That's right.
It's just crazy.
Same year, same date.
Yep.
Same year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So my birthday buddy is on the show here today. I'm going to do a couple quick news items here. BC, Ace and Gene played together this week.
I've seen that. It was pretty. Ace is looking good, I think.
Ace is looking good. He's playing good.
He's playing good. He's looking the best he's ever have, I think, in at least the last 10 years, in my opinion. But
he is, and they look like they really had a good time playing on stage. They played Parasite, Cold Gin, and Shock Me. And, of course, Gene Simmons' band is just like a rock and roll machine. Those guys are just like excellent guys to see play live. Real cool. What do you think, BC?
It's cool. Like I said, it did look like it was like they were going through the motions. It looked like they were actually having a good time, and that was kind of cool, I thought.
Very cool. Now that'll get the rumor mill really churning in the Kiss world going on there. So it's going to be interesting. People are going to have high expectations, but if it turns into something good, if it doesn't, it was still cool to see those guys play together on stage. Heather, do you have any input? Are you a Kiss fan at all?
I was a big Kiss fan when I was a kid.
Was?
I was in 4th grade, and shout out to my friend Nancy Reeves. I was at her house. One of her brothers had the Kiss Alive 2 album on vinyl, and my life was changed. Looked at the cover, mind blown, and it went from there. I got all the albums, and I still remember my mother saying to my father one day, "She likes the one that spits blood, Pete." And that was pretty much all they ever needed to know about me for the rest of my life.
Set the stage.
That's exactly right. Nothing should have surprised them from then on for the remainder of my life. But then one Halloween, my friend Gretchen Nafis Liuzzo, hey Gretch, and I showed our love for Kiss by walking across the German cemetery on Halloween night at midnight.
All right.
How about that? Now that's devotion.
You can't get more rock and roll than that.
We never got a thing from them for it either.
See
but
that?
It's a good story. It's a good story to tell.
I think you owe them now. You have to pay them.
1995.
Awesome. And see, Dylan didn't have to wait long for us to get on to Kiss tonight.
It's only a matter of time here on the Potted Than Hell podcast.
It is.
Well,
We're staunch Kiss fans here. It was very cool seeing those guys play together. And one thing real quick here, also we're going to BC Queensryche. They're in the studio recording a new album now, and it was described as eclectic, which, you know, when you hear a hard rock or metal band throw out words like that, you kind of get a little afraid.
A little scared, but I have faith.
I do too. They're really good with
They're really good with Todd and
Todd LaTorre. They got two albums underneath their belt with the new lineup and the new singer. They're another rock and roll machine. They tour all the time, and they were supposed to already have been in the studio, but then I guess some shows came up and they just ended up postponing recording, which, you know, you gotta pay the bills.
making the money on live shows nowadays.
Absolutely. Heather, are you a Queensryche fan at all?
I am, but back in the Mindcrime days, and
Okay.
The Empire record,
Okay.
Jet City Woman, still one of my favorite songs. But I have to say, I'm embarrassed to say, I'm not as familiar with stuff that they've done without Jeff Tate.
Okay.
But was a big fan prior to him leaving the band.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll have to send you something with Todd LaTorre. Very good, very good.
I was going to say,
Okay.
have you heard any of the new stuff?
No, I'm not familiar with it at all. I'm sorry to say.
Okay, well, we will make sure you are familiar with it. Okay, I'm going to skip our third news item. We'll talk about that another day. Everybody out there, we have had several requests from you guys out there about doing a Women of Rock show, and here we are today. We have Heather. We are going to be on estrogen overload for this episode. This is going to be the first in a series of shows on Women in Rock. I started doing research on the ones that we all picked. I told everybody to pick 12. Everybody picked 12. Then, that was really, really ambitious. So then I knocked it down to 5 for each of us, and we're going to discuss those 5 today. We are not going to go chronologically because it kind of worked out weird, where Heather picked older classic rock females, and then I kind of picked the middle of the road ones, like late 70s, early 80s, and then BC has more of the modern type artists. So it kind of worked out good like that. So we can't go chronologically because Heather will be not talking for an hour after she gets her artist in. So we're gonna jump back and forth. So there's no chronological order here. Heather, before we get going, you gave us your little history. So why don't you give us just a little more music background?
Oh gosh, where to start? I was very lucky to have older brothers and sisters who are a lot older than I am. I'd like to stress that, a lot older, if they're listening. And so I was raised in a house with music from the 20s, the 40s, the 50s, and then
the 20s.
Based on things.
How old are they? Oh, okay.
My parents.
I thought you were talking about your brothers and sisters.
My parents. Yeah, my mother had kids till she was 90, and
Okay.
she was an amazing woman. is an amazing woman. Anyway, so I was raised on the Beatles and Zeppelin and Joni Mitchell and Cream, Alice Cooper, Fleetwood Mac, just, all that stuff I grew up listening to. And then started to discover my own things like Blondie, which we'll talk about tonight, and punk artists. I went a little bit more punk, British New Wave, US punk, industrial, and then into more alt-rock type things. So at one point, I was a DJ on VMFM, where I know Dylan is very familiar with VMFM
Cool.
at Marywood University. I was the music director there for a while, but I had a show on Saturday nights there.
Heather would play Kiss.
Pardon me?
I said Heather would play Kiss. Dylan won't.
It's not on format.
It's I didn't play Kiss either. It wasn't on format. I did alternative rock before it was alternative.
I hate format.
Back in the 80s. So that's just what I do. Music's really everything to me, and has really shaped who I've become in my life, really.
Great. That is an awesome story. And it's cool, too, that you had a lot of different influences, different artists, different types, genres of music. We're glad that you got into the rock, so you could be here sitting with us here today.
I'm ready. I've got my Tito's and tonic with lime.
All right.
I'm ready to go.
Great. Okay, so we're going to start the discussion here. Our Women of Rock, episode 1 of several to come. And Heather, give us the first artist you want to talk about today.
First artist is, of course, Patti Smith. I'm not sure how many folks are familiar with Patti. Hopefully a lot. But she really is one of the foundations of women in rock and roll. She was born and raised. She was born in Chicago, but she then relocated with her family to the East Coast, and she became an integral part of the underground movement that put places like CBGB's and Max's Kansas City, those iconic venues in music history. Where to start with Patti? She moved in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, to New York City from where she was living with her folks. And she met very quickly a man named Robert Mapplethorpe. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a famous artist, photographer, pretty polarizing, controversial artist, but they met and fell in love. And with him, she became really actively involved in the underground there in New York City. A lot of people don't realize she almost became the vocalist for Blue Oyster Cult.
I did come across that in my
did you see that?
In my research, and she actually wrote a couple songs with them.
She did, yeah. She was dating the keyboardist Alan Lanier at the time. A couple of the songs for Blue Oyster Cult fans, Fire of Unknown Origin. She also sings on their track The Revenge of Vera Gemini.
How different would that band have been if she had been the singer?
I know, right? She's really, really cool, and she's really paved the way for women in rock today. She started the Patti Smith group in 1974 and released a brilliant album that has remained what she's most known for. It's called Horses. And it fused punk rock with spoken word as well. Probably the most famous track from that is Gloria, which is a cover from the band Them, which featured Van Morrison on lead vocals. But there are also some really good other hidden tracks on there, like Redondo Beach and Break It Up, which she wrote about Jim Morrison. One of my favorite Patti Smith songs is from the second album she did, which is called Radio Ethiopia, and the song is called Pumping My Heart. And I think it's just a real masterpiece of a blend of punk and rock and roll. I recommend you check that out. Steve, is that one of the ones that you heard? I know you looked into her a little bit.
Yeah, I did. I did some research on her, and actually I texted Heather at one point, and I was like, holy fuck, like Patti Smith is like kicking my ass here. The song Land on Horses, just like, I must listen to that song 10 times in the last week. It's just a great song, and it's like a 9-minute song, and I don't know how you can remember that many words in a song. I listen to some Iron Maiden songs, and, they have a couple songs that are like 13 minutes long and like 18 minutes long, but they have nowhere near the amount of vocals in their songs as she has just in that one song alone. It was just incredible. I thought it was great, and she's very, very talented, and she is an inductee in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Someone that is in there that actually, I believe, deserves to be in there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. She was inducted in 2007. Another track from Radio Ethiopia that I love is called "Ask the Angels," and I made a note of my favorite lyric from that song. It goes, "World ending, it's just beginning, and rock and roll is what I'm born to be." She just resonates with me. She's really brave at a time when there wasn't a lot of room for women in rock and roll, and she just didn't let it stop her. You may have heard the song "Because the Night," which she wrote with Bruce Springsteen. That was from her album Easter in 1978. And for folks who are fans of Natalie Merchant and the 10,000 Maniacs, they had a big hit covering that back in 1993 from their MTV Unplugged album.
Yeah, that was.
But that's another one that I think people probably know.
They probably know that one if you're into harder rock. 1986, the rock band Keel did a cover of it.
Did Keel do a cover
Yep.
of that?
Yes, they did.
It's excellent. It's really good. It's very, very good. Excellent.
Oh, I'll have to listen to that.
Check that out. Very cool.
Later.
Yeah, and
I will. After that came after Easter came the album called Wave, which was in 1979. That's got another one of my favorite songs by her on it, which is called Dancing Barefoot. And I think it's a really beautiful rock and roll love song about when she first fell in love with a guy by the name of Fred Sonic Smith. He's from the guitar player in the legendary Detroit rock band MC5. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them or not, but they, with Kick Out the Jams.
Yeah, they're one of the original, really like kind of hard rock band, like a crossover between pretty much like punk and hard rock, I would say.
They got married in 1980, and they had 2 kids. And Patti kind of stepped back from performing and from creating music during that time until Fred died really suddenly in 1994. He was only 45. He had a heart attack, and she packed up and moved back to New York City with her kids, and gradually began recording again. And she continues to do that today.
Cool.
In fact, I believe I think it was last year, either 2015 or last year, she played a few cities, and she played Horses in its entirety for the first time, and probably ever that it was done in its entirety from start to finish. Yeah.
That I would go see.
Yeah, it was out here, and I didn't go, which I'm kicking myself for now. I know. It was at the Wiltern, which is a beautiful old theater out here. But I did have what I really consider to be an honor of seeing her at a live Q&A here at a different theater back in 2015 when she released her book M Train, which was a follow-up to her, I think it was the National Book Award for Nonfiction. She wrote a book called Just Kids about her years with Mapplethorpe. Anyway, at the end, she brought Tony Shanahan out, who's the guitarist in her band, as a surprise, and they played a few acoustic numbers. And she did Dancing Barefoot, and that was a real thrill for me.
That's cool.
She's the whole package, man. I mean, she's a poet, she's a playwright. She back in the early 70s, she and Sam Shepard co-wrote a play called Cowboy Mouth, and she was with him for a little while. And I mean, man, she's worked with so many people that then went on to become just legends in the performing arts community and the arts community. And man, she's great. She's 70 now. She's still out there kicking ass, and she's just a hero to me. She's great.
Awesome. BC, anything on Patti Smith?
I'm not too familiar with Patti, except for some of the mainstream stuff, I'll be honest.
Okay, but we're definitely have to have BC check out Land at least. That song is just fantastic. And one thing I'm going to say about Patti Smith is you really heard about Janis Joplin and then Patti Smith. Didn't seem really like there was anybody like really out there that was in between. You had Janis, and then she passed away, and then a couple years later Patti Smith. But it doesn't seem like there's anyone really in between that was like a polarizing figure for women in music.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I don't even think Grace Slick falls into that category.
I don't think so either.
In terms of of polarizing, she was certainly a force to be reckoned with, but I wouldn't put her in the same category as them. That's not to say she's not as good as they are. It's just different. She's got a different thing going on.
Right. Yeah, she was more of a band setting than just being out there singularly. Okay, awesome. Patti Smith, everybody out there, check her out. She's very cool. We are going to slide over to BC. So we're going to go from the 70s to probably the 90s or the 2000s. Who you got first, BC?
I'm going to go with the everybody knows her probably as Liv Sin, but her real name is Liv Chakiris. I'm going to probably kill that last name, sorry. She's a female vocalist, songwriter from Sweden. And on a side note, she's a personal trainer and fitness guru.
I saw that.
That's pretty.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, what year did we see those guys?
Probably 2009, 2000. Between 2009 2011, I think we saw.
That was with the
Lynch Mob and MSG.
MSG. These guys came out. Her band is Sister Sin was the first band she's in. We didn't get into them until like 2009, 2010. It had to be 2010 because that's when the True Sound of the Underground came out.
Yeah, because they already had 2 albums out
They had
before that.
2 albums before that. I knew there was one. I did not know there was one as far as 2003.
That's way back.
That's way back. They called it Sister Sin, but I think it was pretty much her. I don't think it was the
I don't think it was
Sister
the band.
the band that we saw. She. I mean, just her vocals are just. I mean, the power behind. I mean, she's different. She's.
Oh, we hear California girls in the background there.
And they've gone from the Beatles to the Beach Boys, and at this point, I want to kill myself.
I was gonna say that's a good combination.
Okay, very cool. BC, what else you got on Liv?
I mean, here they came out mainstream. I would say 2010 with their third album, which was the True Sound of the Underground. Then they toured for 2 years. They came out with the 2012 Now and Forever, which continued pretty much where True Sounds of the Underground left off. And then toured their asses off for another 2 years and came out with Black Locust, which was a little bit...
Little darker.
A little darker, I think. And then I don't think it was a year after that, and the band said they were burned out, and they broke up. Which, as soon as that happened, she made a big announcement that she's not giving up on music, and she came out with their... I guess you could consider it a solo band, just called Liv Sin, which just released an album, Follow Me, this year, which is, I would say it's a little heavier than Sister Sin was, a little more on the heavier side, if there is such a thing.
Very good, though. It's
very good. Songs with Let Me Out, The Fall, I'm Your Sin. I mean, I just...
you're my sin too, BC.
Thank you. But I mean, her presence, her musical presence, when she performs live, I think is just... You don't see that nowadays.
I wasn't familiar with Liv until I got your list, BC, but I started to look into her, and I couldn't get past the fact that there's actually something called the Hottest Chicks in Metal Tour.
Oh, yes, there is. And some of the other girls I have picked out they've been in the top 10 of that for a while.
I couldn't get past that. That made me laugh out loud.
That's how BC picked his
That's how I picked my
women.
women to rock. No, I'm only kidding.
Once I started to see who else was on that tour, I thought, I'm seeing a pattern
There's
here.
a pattern.
But I'll tell you, I wasn't, as I said, I wasn't familiar with them, but I really liked the song "Running Low" from Now and Forever.
Okay, yeah.
I liked that quite a bit. But I really liked. Have you heard their cover of "Rock and Roll" by Motorhead with Doro from Warlock?
Yes, I have. I like it.
That was fantastic.
And again, I didn't know that was out until I started doing, say, my homework for this, and I saw that, and I'm like, that's pretty cool.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I really liked it. Now I'll be a little bit controversial and say I was not impressed with Liv Sin that I saw. I watched Let Me Out, and I just thought compared to some of the other songs that I heard of by Sister Sin, I thought it was a little bit too overproduced, and her vocals didn't sound quite as good. I thought it was just some auto-tune and stuff like that, but I liked some of the Sister Sin stuff.
Yeah, I myself like the Sister Sin stuff.
The Sister
better.
Sin stuff is more, the vocal-wise especially, is more raw, I think.
Yeah.
Compared to the Liv Sin CD.
Definitely. Because when the night that we saw Sister Sin play, BC and I were out in the parking lot just getting some air because the place we were in was like a furnace. And after they got done playing, she was standing outside, so we struck up a conversation with her. We talked to her for probably a good 20 minutes. Super nice girl.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. And, it was their first tour of the United States, and so we were talking, how do you like the United States? And I said, what don't you like? And she said, I hate the food here.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can't blame her there, I guess.
Because that that Swedish food is so damn good.
Oh. Well, they have a lot of meatballs over there.
I like their fish.
Not to just
Gefilte fish or
Yeah,
whatever
Dylan likes
it
the
is
fish.
I like the fish.
whatever they eat.
Very cool artist, and they put on a great show, and she kind of reminds me of a like a little raspy kind of Janis Joplin metalized or something.
Keep bringing up Janis Joplin.
I know. Well, she's someone that we could talk about on a later show. She's one of the pioneers, but someone that we're not discussing today. Dylan's on my ass already, and we're only 2 artists in,
2 artists in, he's on it.
which is fine.
I'll go up. I'm a few blocks away from the hotel where she died, so I'll go up there for that conversation.
Okay.
Taking on the road.
In audio to
Maybe,
LA.
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, she was very, very cool. We really liked her stuff, and the band was great live.
And they just, out of the blue,
We're done. They were
called it
done.
quits. From what they said, the guitar player and I believe the bass player wanted to do, and her and the drummer wanted to continue, but I don't know what happened with that drummer. It was just like overnight, like bam, bam, and then okay, we're done.
Yeah, and it wasn't that much longer after the last Sister Sin album came out. It was just like it came out, and then you really didn't hear. You heard maybe of they did a couple festivals in Europe and stuff, but nothing United States wise.
And then they were done.
Yeah.
I have to say I was really impressed. I read a few interviews where she was talking about the breakup, and she was super classy. Didn't throw anybody under the bus.
No.
Totally. Yeah, she was great. I mean, she could have handled it a few different ways, like some other bands that I've seen.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Motley Crue or something.
Yeah,
like that, where
yeah.
Where they
Those guys
bashed
hated
throw
each other for
under
30
the
years.
bus, but no, she was great.
Awesome. All right, we have Liv Sin under our belt, or Liv Jarjo. I don't know.
Jarjo.
Liv, if you listen to us, give us a call. Let us know how you actually pronounce your name. We would appreciate it when we do an interview with you.
Please forgive us.
And I'm going to go with my first pick, and we're going to go back into the 70s, and I'm going to pick Suzi Quatro.
Yes.
Very cool. I was looking, because like I said before, Heather was kind of the older school stuff, and then BC I knew was picking some of the modern stuff, so I wanted to do a good back and forth between the 70s and 80s. So I was looking at Suzi Quatro. Very cool, better known as Leather Tuscadero from Happy Days. Suzi Quatro, very, very cool artist. I got to get into some of her music and checking out some of the songs. Some of the songs that people have probably heard 1,000 times and really didn't pay attention to who the hell the artist was. The Wild One. One really cool song called Can the Can, which I'm not really sure what that even means, but it was definitely a cool song. There's one song that I thought that was probably the best song that she put out. It was called If You Can't Give Me Love. Really, really cool song. Very cool artist. Her albums were great. I didn't get to listen to all of them. I listened to most of her early stuff. But very good, just basic rock and roll, not even hard rock or not even close to being in the parking lot of metal, but just very good rock and roll songs. Very I won't say wholesome, that's not even close, but very, very cool artist. Heather, what's your thoughts on her?
Oh, I love her. I think that she was on my top 12. I think.
Yeah, I stole her off your list.
I wasn't going to say anything, but good for you for admitting it. I love her. Of course, first knew her from Leather Tuscadero, and then just went from there as I got older and was looking at music and things like that. But the song "Stumbling In" is one of my all-time favorite songs. I love that song. Still listen to it all the time now. But Can the Can is a great song, and I don't think that I think that she's sort of an unsung hero when it comes to women in rock. I don't think she gets a lot of, I don't know if I would say credit, but I think just a lot of recognition, a lot of awareness around her. And so I was glad to see that you picked her, because I think she's great.
Yeah, she's a very, very cool artist. BC, anything on Suzi?
Suzi, I'm about as familiar as 70s stuff as I was back then. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with that.
That's okay. That's all right. I just didn't want to leave you out of the
BC's
conversation.
more of a fan of Suzi Cinco.
Cinco.
I don't know who that is.
No, yes, her last name's Quattro.
Quattro's
Oh,
God. Okay.
Catorce, Susie Catorce.
That was like
Yeah,
right over the heads
like
here.
U2 and skip right to 14.
Oh, okay. I don't have a lot on her. I just wanted to get a good base of artists here. I didn't want to, and I thought she was really cool. I was going to pick someone else, but I started listening to her stuff, and I figured I definitely want to throw her out there. Very cool.
I believe she's a big influence on the Runaways, which we will be talking about.
We may.
A little bit,
You never know. You never know.
I think you're right about that, Dylan.
I mean, I remember seeing it from the Runaways
From the movie, right? Yeah.
Which it has some good things and some bad things.
It does. Maybe we'll do a movie review show someday, rock movie review show, which is kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, we'll watch Detroit Rock City, Wayne's World. It'd be great.
Okay, awesome. So we have Susie Quattro under our belt, so we're going to go back to Heather.
All right. I'm going to do another one that may be a little bit lesser known, but her name is Exene Cervenka. She is, to me, another badass godmother of punk and rock and roll. She's a singer in the legendary LA punk band X, which is one of my top 10 favorite bands of all time. They're still touring. It's their 40th anniversary, and they're actually now touring in celebration of that. So it's pretty cool with the original lineup. It's interesting. Her Exene was her actual name is Christine, but she was also born in Chicago, and then moved to Florida before heading west to Los Angeles in the mid 70s. She also, like Patti Smith, you can see a theme here. She's an accomplished poet. She's a visual artist, an author, as well as being a singer and a musician. And she's great. She is no bullshit. She is funny. She's smart. She's really sharp, and she's just I just love her to death. Are you familiar with the band X?
I am not, although I did go and listen to some of. I'm going to say it's probably her solo stuff. And just some of the songs I listened to was "Already in Love," "I'll Go Down."
That's solo, I believe.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what you wanted to cover. I didn't listen to any of the X stuff, so you're definitely going to have to give us the quick lead on this one here. That was one that I didn't really get into because I thought her solo stuff was kind of like folksy. I thought.
Yeah, I'll definitely start with X because there's a lot of pretty interesting history with the band. It formed in Los Angeles in '77 with Exene, a guy named John Doe on bass, Billy Zoom, and DJ Bonebreak. Billy's the guitarist and DJ is the drummer. And they quickly became local heroes here on what's called the first wave punk of Los Angeles. Other bands that are in that category are the Germs, the Eyes, the Alley Cats. I'm not sure if you've heard of any of them, but they managed to get the attention of a classic indie label called Splash Records. That's not around anymore, but it was big in the early '80s, and they released their debut album, which was called Los Angeles, in 1980. And it's interesting because they used to play here on the Strip at the Whiskey quite a bit. And Ray Manzarek, who's the keyboardist for the Doors, first heard them there and asked if he could produce their record. So you've got Ray Manzarek of the Doors producing this punk band's debut record.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, the original record clocks in at less than 30 minutes. I think it's like 28 minutes and 33 seconds or something like that. But it's on the list of Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time. One of Pitchfork's top 100 albums of the 1980s, and it's one of those albums that you just can't go wrong with any track on it. The title track is "Your Phone's Off the Hook, But You're Not." It's a great, from that kickoff track, it's just a great roller coaster ride of West Coast punk. I mean, there's just nothing like Southern California punk. If you listen to X, you'll notice John and Exene's harmonies are the signature defining sound of the band, but they're never quite in tune with each other. But it works. It works. You have to listen to it to know what I'm talking about. But it's fantastic. They were also in a relationship and married for a few years too. But on Los Angeles, there's a cover of the Doors' Soul Kitchen. Hopefully you don't get hate mail about this, but dare I say it's better than the original. It's a completely different, sped up version.
That's cool.
Billy Zoom's trademark guitar really propels it forward at like 200 miles an hour, and it's just fantastic.
We like that. And actually, David Lee Roth on the DLR album does also a version of Soul Kitchen, just for a little another.
Oh, does he really?
Another tidbit out there. Yeah, it's actually pretty funky. I actually have to say I kind of dropped the ball on Exene here. I should have asked you what I should listen to instead of just going out on my own to see what was out there, because I actually just looked her up, and that's how I got all that solo stuff. And I will definitely have to check out the X stuff, though. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ray Manzarek, his keyboards on the song Nausea on Los Angeles is just, it's fantastic. So you get this swirling doors keyboard on this, on this punk song, and it's just really, it's fantastic. I would point out my favorite song by X is on their album Under the Big Black Sun. The history of that album, it's my favorite album as well, is that Exene's sister Mary was killed in a car accident on her way to an X show at the Whiskey, and so the album has a little bit more of a darker tone to it, because most of the songs are about that loss. But my favorite song, if you have a chance ever to listen to it, it's called The Hungry Wolf, and it kicks off the album like with a roar. It's fantastic. Exene went on, of course, to do some solo stuff. She's also had some other bands like the Original Sinners and Antichrist. At all this time, she's been actively writing, publishing books, pieces of poetry. And interestingly, a little bit of trivia for you. When she and John Doe divorced in the mid-1980s, she then married Viggo Mortensen.
Oh.
And she and Viggo have a son named Henry, and they then split up about 20 years ago in 1997. But she's an interesting bird, is how I would describe her, and I just love her. She's pretty badass.
Awesome. We will definitely have to check out X. Thank you, X. Sounds very, very cool. As you say, badass would be which badass we like. Badass. Badass is cool. Good. So awesome. BC, who do you got for us next?
I'm gonna go with my next pick. Is gonna be Elizabeth May Hale, also known as Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm. These guys are originally from Pennsylvania. I want to say
down Philly area, right?
Reading, New York.
I think it's Red Lion.
Red Lion. Yes, you are right. They were like a little. I can remember when I was younger. They were like
a pop trio or pop duo or something, weren't they?
Her and her brother RJ, and he played the drums and she played like keyboards, and they sang about Mary Had a Little Lamb, I think. But and then in 1997, I think they started going a different route, and then which a much heavier route, I think. And when they first came out, I was like, this ain't the Hailstorm I remember. But I'm glad. So she came out. I mean, she's the singer-songwriter for Hailstorm. She started the band with her brother.
Who was a kick-ass drummer.
Psycho Mac behind the set. In 2009, they came out with their self-titled album, which, I mean, I don't think there's a bad song on that one.
No.
It's Not You. I Get Off. My favorite, Dirty Work. Bet You Wish Me Have You Back, but she kind of sings a little bit more in that one compared to the other ones, more screaming. But she definitely has a set of pipes on her, I think.
She's an excellent guitar player, too.
That was 2009, and then they came right out in 2010 with a live album from Philly, which I think if we did a live album show, that would definitely be in my top 10. 2011, they came out with the first of what would be 3 cover albums they have. Came out with the first one. It's called Reanimate the Covers EP, which some of the standouts on it would be Slave to the Grind, cover of Skid Row, Bad Romance, Lady Gaga, and All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, a cover of Heart, which she does phenomenal. I'm sorry. Not to take it away from Heart.
No.
Sorry, Ann.
Very, very, really cool version of that. Heather, anything on Hailstorm from you?
I do, and I apologize because BC was breaking up a little bit. I could only hear about every other word, so I apologize if I'm repeating anything that you said, BC. My favorite thing about Lizzie is that she writes an advice column for Revolver.
Yes, I didn't get to that yet. Cool.
I thought that was fantastic. One of the things I really like about her is that she's super versatile, and she's not afraid of crossing genres. She does it really well. She has played with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which I thought was fantastic and a real credit to her. as well as the duet that she did with a country artist, Eric Church.
Eric Church, yeah.
Which I thought was just fantastic that she can move back and forth across genres and do it successfully. I think my favorite song by Hailstorm is "You Call Me a Bitch Like It's a Bad Thing."
Yeah.
I think that's a great song, and I think I may start using that as my theme song. But I really thought that they did a fantastic job with their cover of Daft Punk's "Get Lucky."
Okay, yep.
What a fantastic cover that is. I just thought that was great. I was so impressed.
I was hoping it was Loverboys Get Lucky.
Good old Mike Reno.
And they do Ride the Lightning too, which I have to say their song choices for some of the bands they cover are pretty good. Like they don't go for the obvious song.
Thank God.
Like 2013, they did their second one of the covers, and Pat Benatar, they did a cover of "Hills for Children," which totally starts off different, and then they kick into more like the original. And they do a cover of AC/DC, which
Shoot the Thrill.
"Shoot the Thrill" is great.
Oh wow.
They don't do the one middle part in "Shoot the Thrill." They don't do though. They kind of skip over it. The one middle part. If you listen to it, you'll get to the end of the song, you'll be like something's missing. If you go back and listen to AC/DC, they kind of skip over like a whole part in the song, which is kind of weird.
And hey, they do "I Want You, She's So Heavy," which I heard was playing at the Rainbow in the background.
And they did on their third one of the cover albums. They're doing. There's only 5 or 6 songs on each one, but
I know. But I wish people.
"Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover" by Sophie B. Hawkins, which.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I guess I think it's better than the original. That's just
I'm gonna look that up as soon as I get home.
And
that's because you can picture her singing it.
I remember the original faintly, but I mean this one's because she just puts her touch to it. I think.
Fell on Black Days, Soundgarden.
I'm not a song. I don't like that one. No. But
okay, fine.
Here's the new one here. And this is somebody I have no idea who they were. Heathens by 21 Pilots.
You've never heard of 21 Pilots before that?
I never heard 21 Pilots before hearing this. I'm like, wow, I wonder who did that. And I looked it up.
Song.
And then I heard the original one. I think this one's
There's just like 2 people in that band, right?
Yeah, it's a singer who plays like ukulele and like keyboards, and then there's just the drummer.
It just seems like
one
of
the most underrated drummers, I think. But
I think their version is just more.
The new 21 Pilots stuff is very down and kind of low key, and I don't like it.
It seems very low compared to their version.
But I do like Hailstorm's version.
And hey, she got her own guitar after she has a Lizzie Hale Gibson guitar.
Gibson Explorer, which is my absolute favorite guitar of all time.
And I love when she yells, like on Love Bites, like when she gets into that one part where she's just yelling that bridge. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
And Heather will get a kick out of this. In 2009, Heather, she was voted one of the hottest chicks in metal.
There you go.
She was probably one. Surprise, right?
I hope she was on the tour.
I don't know about that.
That's what we'll do, the Hotter Than Hell Hottest Women in Rock tour.
Yeah, I didn't know there was one until she mentioned it, to be honest with you. I knew there was a list. I didn't know there was an actual tour. But, I mean, she can, like you said before, she played with Eric Church. I mean, she's done stuff with Stone Sour, Black Stone Cherry, Seether, even Dream Theater.
Very cool, very cool. All right, Heather, anything else on Lizzie?
Nope.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna kind of butt out of that one. You guys kind of covered that very, very well. And I'm gonna take my turn here, and I'm gonna talk about the Runaways. You cannot have a discussion of women in rock without talking about the Runaways. I'm gonna say there were probably other bands out there that were all female, but this was the first band that was all female that was actually recording albums and on tours. And I think they really probably put a lot of guitars in some girls' hands, and drums and bass and singing and stuff. You're back in the 70s where you didn't really have a whole lot of female artists out there, but they took the world by storm. They were more popular in like Europe and Japan than they were here in the States. But their music is great. They put out their first album in 1976, The Runaways. They released 2 albums in 1977, Queens of Noise and Waiting for the Night. And now, The Runaways in 1978. They have 1 live album in 1977. But Sherry Curry was the original singer in the band for the first 2 albums, but then they kind of had a falling out with her.
Good God, it's Elvis.
All right. But when they did the Waiting for the Night album, Sherry Curry was gone because she was fighting with Lita Ford, and they kind of, parted ways with her. And that was the first album that Joan Jett sang the whole album. And I personally think, after listening to all of their stuff, that is definitely their strongest album. I definitely think it's their best album. People that were trying to take advantage of them at when they were playing and stuff. Apparently on their last tour, the bass player accused Kim Fowley, their producer and manager, of sexually assaulting her, I guess, and so it got into be a huge mess at the end there. And there was so much fighting going on after they did, and now the Runaways, because they were the producers, the managers are trying to push Joan Jett out, and Joan Jett said something like, I kind of got the feeling they were trying to push me out on something that I helped create. And then right after that album, I don't even know if the album was even released, but they were, Lita Ford and Joan Jett decided to just say screw it, and they broke up the band before, I'm going to say probably right before that album came out or right after it came out. But I mean, it was an end to a great, I don't want to call it an experiment, but in kind of a way, it kind of was. You hadn't seen a band of just all women playing. You'd have maybe a singer, but I don't even remember other bands that had a female musician in the band. But I mean, here's all the girls are bringing it on this album. Heather, how about you on the Runaways?
Oh, I love the Runaways. Joni, and Cherry, and it's. Have you read Cherry's autobiography?
I have not.
It's called Neon
Angel.
I'm blanking on it now.
Neon Angel.
Thank you, Neon Angel. But what a life, and what an experience that was, especially dealing with really not a good guy in Kim Fowley, not a good guy. To be that young with somebody who, some may categorize as a bit of a predator and vulnerable and out here. This is a tough place to be when you're young and on your own here. And I can see how both young men and women get sort of chewed up and spit out by Hollywood and Los Angeles coming out here, because it's not all the glitz and glamour that that the television and film would like you to believe. So I give them a lot of credit for surviving that and for coming out on top of it. I saw Joan a few months ago here at the Greek Theater. She opened for, and I hesitate to say this because I feel like I'm going to throw up a little bit in my mouth, but she opened for Boston, who is one of my least favorite musical bands. But I went, and then as soon as she was done, I left.
Oh, really? See, but they may have redeemed themselves in your eyes live, though.
No, that ship has sailed.
And I was going to ask if you wanted to do a show about Boston too.
No, that'll be a solid no for me, and I'll get hate mail from your listeners who love Boston, but I can't do that churning guitar noise, drives me crazy, but or whatever you call that specific guitar sound that they have. But anyway, she opened for them, and she was just fantastic. She's so great, and still, I hate to keep using the word badass, but man, she's the best, man. She's great. A little heartbroken that she's had some facial work done, but
yeah, she's been tightened up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it breaks my heart a little bit. I kind of wish that she'd sort of thumb her nose or flip off the.
Yeah, it's not very punk to do that.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that she gave into that. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. And she's great. She was great live, and she still got it. And I love her to pieces. I think she's fantastic.
All right, cool. You know what? Let's just continue a quick discussion on Joan Jett, because she is one of my picks, so we might as well just keep the ball rolling with her. Another Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, even though I hate evoking that because I think it's such a fucking joke. I do like to throw people out there that actually deserve to be in there, which Joan Jett definitely does. Number one songs, I Love Rock and Roll she had, and she still does Cherry Bomb. She did a really cool version of Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Crimson and Clover she did, Bad Reputation, Do You Want to Touch Me? And she actually, even the song Light of Day that she did in the name
That's a great
in
song.
That movie, that is an excellent song. Probably, I'm going to say that is definitely going to be my favorite Joan Jett song is Light of Day, which is great. Way, way, way better than when Bruce Springsteen does it.
Yeah,
like
I would,
a million
I
miles
would
above
agree.
him.
I'm probably in the minority. I'm a Springsteen fan, but much better. I give credit where it's due, and her version was much better. My favorite song by her is "Do You Want to Touch Me?" And when she did that at the Greek, I about just came unglued. It was fantastic. Really good.
It is. I mean, great. And she came out with an album, and it was kind of funny. I was looking on Wikipedia, the awesome "You Could Live or Die" on Wikipedia. But they showed all of her albums, and she came out with an album, I want to say probably 1993 or 1994, was called Fetish. Have you ever heard that album?
No, I haven't, but I know the one you're talking about.
When they put the albums on her discography, like, that is not mentioned at all, and it is a fantastic album. It is we saw her on that tour. She opened up for Def Leppard, and she came out on stage and her head was shaved bald. It was like,
I remember that particular phase. Yes.
But the album was great. It was,
her outfit was latex.
Yeah, it was definitely her hardest rocking album.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's kind of the album that she is, maybe trying to distance herself from or whatever. But faithful listeners out there, if you want to check out some of these albums and bands, see if you can find Joan Jett Fetish. Very cool. Probably her definitely I would say heaviest album. What do you think, DC?
Definitely her heaviest album. And for some reason, like you said, it's not on there. Is there legal things behind it? Who knows? I mean, I don't see why she would want to distance herself from it. It's not bad.
There's some good songs on there.
Very good songs on there. I mean, come on.
So if anybody out there, if you can find it, check it out. It's very good.
She's a Pennsylvania girl.
And where was the show that you saw?
At the Mohegan Sun Arena down in Wilkes-Barre. Very, very good show. Like, she came out, she played all the songs, Crimson and Clover, and Do You Want to Touch, everything. And she probably did maybe 3 or 4 songs from that album. But it was was good. They were hard rocking songs, but it was just the shock of seeing her shaved bald. Wow, just like, I mean, you can make a statement and then you can make a statement. That was a friggin' statement.
And she was angry.
And she was Angry Joan. So
Angry
I don't know what
she
had going on then. But they have her album listed that's called Naked, but they didn't put Fetish in there, so I don't know what that's all about. Joan Jett, I mean, great. And she sang her first full album was with the Runaways. And, she hasn't looked back, and she's put out some really quality stuff.
What year was that show?
I'm going to say it was probably 94 or 95.
I was out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 2008, and she played out there, and I caught the show. And she had a little bit more hair than, it wasn't really long, but she had more hair than that night. And
did she play anything from Fetish?
She played Fetish.
Really?
So, I mean...
Maybe it was... No, it was... The show we saw was way before that.
Yeah, but she played that song. I mean, I don't know. The rest were pretty much the hits.
Yeah,
because you know how everything is
nowadays. They only have a limited amount of time. They have to throw out there what they can.
It was like a bunch of bands playing, so she only had limited set. But she played Fetish then, so I can't see her wanting to distance herself from that. Here she is playing it so many years later.
Okay, awesome. Hey, we killed 2 birds with 1 stone on that one. At that juncture, we are going to slide right into our hidden gems. Okay, and our first hidden gem is going to be... I'm going to let Dylan take the reins on this. We only heard from him a little bit this evening.
Okay, so my hidden gem is a local band. Actually, recently just got a change of lead singers. Thankfully, since it's the Women in Rock episode, I can still talk about this band, as their second lead singer was Amber Sauls, and she was great. But now their new lead singer is Jen Frackus, and the band is Eye on Attraction. And they're from Scranton, Pennsylvania, so hometown boys and girl. They're a great band, and they recently just came out with a single called Pleasantville. And it's really cool, really kicking. But I love their EP Staircases, and their album The Factory is great. They kind of have a prog metal type feel to them with a lot of alternative thrown in there. They did a really cool cover of a Coheed and Cambria song that was actually liked by the band Coheed and Cambria. So they're getting out there, and they do some really awesome music, put on a great live show. So my hidden gem is definitely the band Eye on Attraction.
Eye on Attraction, Dylan. BC, go ahead, buddy.
I'm going to stick with the women here. I'm going to go with Sandy Soraya from the band Soraya. And the hidden gem will be Love Has Taken Its Toll.
It's taking its toll. I knew you were going to pick that. Awesome song. Very good band. They're kind of local to here too, aren't they?
Jersey.
Dirty Jersey.
But they're a band that came out, like I said, they came out too late, I think, just like everything else
Right
around
on
that
the
time.
edge. Right on the edge of the.
They,
right
put
on the edge
a-
of the cliff.
Yeah, they put 2 CDs out, which the first one was phenomenal. The second one kind of got lost in the shuffle, I think.
Yeah. First one was very good though. Very good.
And then,
Soraya.
bam,
They're done.
they went to hell just like everything else did
Yep.
at that time.
One of those bands right at the end of the 80s that kind of just
Hurrah, or whatever.
yeah got swept under the rug when the wave from
But check
Seattle
them out,
came
I
in.
mean,
Check them out.
Soraya, great band.
Excellent. Okay, Miss Heather, go ahead.
First of all, Love Has Taken Its Toll. Awesome song. I love that song. I had the cassette, 1989. All right, moving on. My pick is my favorite local band here in Los Angeles called the Glam Skanks.
The glam skanks.
The Glam Skanks. They are a powerful quartet of women who do glam rock, and I saw them last year, earlier this year. I think maybe it was early this year. I can't remember at this point. They opened for Adamant here at the Fonda Theater,
Yeah,
and just were incredible. But check out they have 2 albums. One might be an EP, but there's one called Glitter City. The second one is called Glam Skanks. And the tracks I would recommend are Bad Bit, Glitter City, and Tube Top. That's my hidden gem.
Very cool. So is there a way to get them out?
You can, YouTube and their website.
Okay, we will absolutely check them out. And when we have you back on for the part 2, but actually I think we're going to have Heather on for another episode that we're kind of keeping under wraps too. So you won't just be hearing from Heather for women in rock stuff. She's going to be on for some other things we have planned here. Okay, I'm going to do my hidden gem here. And I'm going to thank Heather right off the bat because anybody that listens to the show knows that I go off the reservation once in a while for the hidden gem. And I'm going to do an EP that I'm making up of cover songs that female artists do. And I was racking my brain for like 3 days to come up with a title for this EP. But you gave me the perfect title, and it's just going to be called Badass. Okay? So it's got 5 songs on it. It has Doro doing Billy Idol's White Wedding, and it has the Puddle of Mud doing Stop Dragging My Heart Around, and the female singer on that is called BC Jean. No relation to our BC here. Joan Jett doing a version of Love Me 2 Times by The Doors. Hailstorm doing a version of Lady Gaga's Bad Romance. And the final song on it is going to be Nightwish doing a version of Gary Moore's Over the Hills and Far Away. So that's my hidden gem. So I like to find a little sneaky way that I could filter in more than one. And
BC, are you ever allowed to do more than one on the hidden gem? I wasn't told I could pick more than one.
I was taking my host privilege on that one.
But that was a joke. That was a joke that fell horribly flat.
Sorry. That's me. I have a crazy sense of humor sometimes, and sometimes it goes over my head. But that's our hidden gems this week. You guys check them out. Very cool stuff. We will check out Heather's definitely. Who are they again?
They're called the Glam Skanks.
The Glam Skanks. That is such a cool name. Just the name alone is awesome. Awesome. I'm not even going to comment further on that because I'm definitely going to get myself into trouble. All right, let's get back into it. Where did we leave off? We're going to Heather next.
I believe next up on my list, Ms. Deborah Harry, vocalist of the band Blondie, goddess of all things. Boy, she was made such an impression on me growing up, as did the other women that I've mentioned. She was actually born Angela Tremble in Miami, Florida. She was adopted by a family who renamed her Deborah Harry, and she was raised in New Jersey. Interestingly, she actually started her music career as a backup singer for a folk group, if you can believe that.
Really?
It was called the the Wind in the Willows, and I believe they did one album, Never to Be Heard From Again. And then she was a member of a group sort of like the New York version of the Supremes, except they were called the Stilettos.
Okay.
So she was there with two other female vocalists. And while she was in the Stilettos, she met Chris Stein, who's the guitarist who then became her boyfriend, and together they co-founded Blondie in 1974. So, of course, for those who are familiar with Blondie, Heart of Glass, Call Me, The Tide is High, Dreaming, Sunday Girl, Hanging on the Telephone, Atomic. But one of my favorite Blondie songs is Rapture, which it was in 1981, and the first time that there was a #1 song in the United States that featured rap vocals period, but certainly rap vocals featuring a female artist. And after the dissolution of Blondie, Chris Stein became very, very sick. They stopped so that she could care for him. She did do about 5 solo albums, has some bit acting parts, and Blondie is back right now, released an album, and they've been, I don't know if the tour is still going on, but they were doing a summer tour with Garbage. And again, I didn't get there, but I would have killed to have seen Blondie and Shirley Manson share a bill. I think that was probably a dream bill.
Yeah, that's very cool. I know they've been touring because Tommy Summers, that is on the Three Sides of the Coin cast, he's a huge Garbage fan, and
Well, you have legendary producer Butch Vig on drums in there.
Okay.
Can't go wrong.
See that? Dylan was, just for the record, Dylan was the first one to bring up a producer today.
Hey, he
Just
produced,
for the record.
He produced Nevermind, okay?
All right, I'm just saying, just for the record, it wasn't me this week, it was Dylan. Debbie Harry, and I have to tell you, and I will put my pen down, I haven't written anything, I will show Dylan right there what it says, right? And I show BC what it says
I
right
can't
there.
read what that says.
It says, I have Debbie Harry, and I have it circled, and I have an arrow, and it goes down to Rapture, first hip-hop song with a question mark.
Well, it wasn't the first hip-hop song. It was the
first rap hip-hop type song that I can ever remember hearing.
Especially for with a female vocal.
And it's funny because I was listening. Kind of embarrassed to say this. I was listening to it yesterday, and I had the headphones on, and I was listening to the Blondie stuff, and I was kind of like flitting through the house, doing little dancing and shit. She has some cool songs. The ones you mentioned, Heart of Glass and Rapture, and all those songs, very, very cool. I can remember we used to have a skating rink by a Skate-A-Rama. They used to play Heart of Glass in Rapture all the time. I remember skating to that, roller skating to that stuff like decades ago. And, I put the headphones on.
At the same time, I bet. I bet we were there at exactly the same time because I have clear memories of skating to Heart of Glass.
Oh, probably. Probably. I mean, everybody was there. I mean, it was a gas.
I'm not sure if any of you are fans of The Doors, but look up, there's a fantastic mashup that was done many years ago, maybe, 10 or 15 years ago, but it's Riders on the Storm and Rapture. And
really?
It is phenomenal. So I would think that you'd be able to find that on YouTube. It's fantastic. If you get a chance, it's fantastic.
We will, actually. We'll look for that, and we'll post it on our Facebook page. BC, any Blondie memories for you, buddy? Did you first kiss a girl listening to Blondie or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, believe it or not, I did use roller skates and not break my ankle like I did years later. Everybody
I want to see that. I don't believe you.
No, back in the day, everybody went through, like you said, and
okay.
That was one song I think it was played every week. And there was something just on TV not too long ago that I actually watched about her. It's very interesting.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the commercial that featured One Way or Another.
No.
I was like, yeah, I think that's a Swiffer commercial.
Nah, I don't watch that part of TV. I'm more of a documentary, and if it's not about music or...
It's not about music or porn, BC doesn't want to know about it.
I don't want to know about it, so...
Okay, awesome. We got Blondie under our belt here, and BC, who you got next for us?
I'm going to go with some gothic metal. And Maria Brink from In This Moment. She's the singer-songwriter and she pretty much started the band with the guitar player. I met her late 2010, 11. Very just like Liv Sin, she's very cool, down to earth, and you can talk to her like somebody you just walked up to and have a hour conversation with her. Very down to earth. I was working a concert venue with the EMS department, and so I was backstage, and she was prepping for her show. Of course, all these guys are coming up. Oh, Maria, oh, I love you, and she's trying to get ready, and she's like, okay, thank you, and she had an assistant with her, and they're all like, okay, guys, thank you, and they just kept coming back to the fence and like, oh, bro, the only thing he was doing was pulling his pants down. I said, and she was getting annoyed, and she's kind of looking at me, rolling her eyes. I'm going, the price of being famous, I guess. And Heather was going like this. I mentioned that Lizzie Hill was 2009's hottest chick in metal. Maria was 2010's hottest chick in metal, and she got the award for Rock Goddess Award in 2013 and 2015, whatever that is. I don't know. But she's definitely, classify her. It's very, gothic, I guess you could say. I mean, very,
Yeah, they have a kind of a symphonic sound to them a little bit.
Yeah.
But, very, I don't know, dramatic vocals, would you call it, maybe?
I don't know. Yeah, it's very, I'm trying to word it, and I can't word it. Very dramatic. To me, she's a female Lizzie Borden. If anybody out there knows Lizzie Borden, he's very showmanship, puts on a stage show, and she does the same thing.
Right, she's not just there standing singing.
No, she's not. She changes outfits multiple times during a show, and she's always doing something, and the album covers, and she's
like Axl Rose.
Yeah. How can you insult the poor girl like that?
I know, I'm sorry.
I mean, I didn't get really into them till I saw them live when I was working the mountain that night, and the album that came out after that was Blood in 2012, which I picked up, and I mean, you got to be in the mood for it, I guess you could say, but I mean, it's different, and every now and then I love to throw her in it. And then they came out with Black Widow in 2014, and they just came out with another one, which I have to admit I did not pick up yet, but I will. I mean, some of the song titles are like Big Bad Wolf, and Sick Like Me, Blood, Dirty Pretty. I mean, some of these songs are just, they have their own definite sound and
really, really good band. Heather, have you checked out In This Moment at all?
I had never heard of them until I looked into them in preparation for tonight, and let me tell you, I am mad proud to BC. I love this band. I am already placing an order
Awesome.
for their albums. I believe the one that I'm going to love the most, based on the songs that I've heard so far, is their album called Revenge. But what I knew I was going to like them when I was doing research and saw that one of their main influences is Dead Can Dance. And the Dead Can Dance is a band from the 80s and early 90s. They're from Australia. I would consider them ambient alternative. So you never know what you're going to get with them, but they create these soundscapes. And the soundscapes can include everything from Gregorian chants to folk music, and indigenous folk music, and it's a fantastic band. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, this is going to be pretty interesting. And I started with Big Bad Wolf, and just my mind was blown. And then listened to Oh Lord and Sex Metal Barbie, which I love. A couple of these songs really reminded me and made me feel as if they could have come off of Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral.
yes.
They just have that atmospheric, hard edge to them, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Hey, I'm glad that we're kind of give you some, because you gave me stuff to listen to, definitely, and it seems like it's going back the other way. And I mean, I know Heather, we all know each other's picks. Obviously, but all the stuff that I pick, Heather knows probably 90% of it, and BC probably knows a small percentage of the stuff that I pick.
5.5%.
But so I've been going through everything, and I listened to In This Moment. I've listened to them before, but I never really delved into them too deeply. But yesterday I probably listened to them for maybe about an hour and a half, and there was not a bad song that I listened to. Just great music, great musical direction. Vocally, she's up and down. She's singing. She's screaming. And I'm not saying screaming in a good way, but just a very good band. Very well produced band. And Dylan brought up producers. I don't know who produced these guys. The production on their albums is very good. It's like there's no sludgy sounding stuff. There's no. It doesn't sound like over compressed or anything like that. It just sounds very clear, very good production on those albums. So there you go, Dylan.
And like Lizzie Hale, she's all over the place with people. Talk about Lizzie Hale. Maria was on Here's to Us with Hailstorm on their album. She also did
That's a great song.
She also did guest vocals on the Red Dragon Cartel's Big Mouth, which I think is a great song. I mean, I like that whole album, Red Dragon Cartel.
I had seen it when I was reading about her. I had seen that people comparing her to Lady Gaga, and I thought that was unfair. I find Maria far more interesting than Lady Gaga, far more talented. I just thought she was great.
Cool. Maria, and in this moment, BC hatched a new fan for you guys, so you'll be cashing in on Heather's fandom very soon. And good pick, BC. Good solid pick. I'm gonna go with my next pick, and I'm gonna skip the pick I was gonna say, but I'm gonna go to my next, and the pick I was gonna do now I'll do later. I'm going to pick, not that it makes any difference. I am going to pick a awesome guitarist. She does not sing. I don't think I've heard her sing anything besides backing vocals, and her name is Nita Strauss. And she is the current guitar player for the Alice Cooper Band, and she was the guitar player in Femme Fatale. We saw Femme Fatale at M3, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
At least 3 years ago.
And awesome guitar player. And she if you look up Nita Strauss on YouTube, you can there's a version of her and Courtney Cox, not the actress. They do a version of The Trooper at the NAMM show from a couple of years ago. And it is just blistering. They do the dual guitars on that. Nita played in Femme Fatale with Courtney Cox. They were two lead guitar players. And I think BC, we mentioned her on another show, and BC said, we saw her, they played maybe a 35-minute set at M3. And she slammed like a 6-pack of beer down in between the songs. Like
they played a half-hour set. She drank a whole 6-pack of beer, and
she
ripped it up. And
great. Great stage presence, awesome guitarist.
And she was also in the Iron Maidens.
The Iron Maidens, absolutely.
She's not only good looking, she can back it up, and she can play amazingly.
A very phenomenally talented guitarist.
I have to say,
in the Iron Maidens, she did the Dave Murray parts on Iron Maiden songs. Go ahead, Dylan.
I have to say, Alice Cooper Band, I think she gels so well with the rest of the band. Like, they do this extended jam version of Dirty Diamonds recently, and it was phenomenal. I've never heard the song done so well.
Yeah, she gels really good in that band, and she replaced Orianthi in Alice Cooper Band, and we've seen Alice with both females in the band, and I do think that Nita fit the band better than Orianthi did.
Yeah.
Orianthi, don't get me wrong, very talented guitar player, but she seemed kind of aloof to the rest of the band when she was playing. But Nita was right in there with the band,
jamming out
with Ryan Roxy and
Chuck Garrick.
I'm sorry. And Tommy Hendrickson is the other guitar player, and she gelled really good with those guys. And I wanted to put it in there to just put out there that we're not just talking about singers in these bands. They're not someone that just is handed words to sing. I'm not sure what roles all these females have in their bands for writing material, but here's a very talented guitar player that gets out there. She keeps up with the boys and kicks their ass.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm drawing a blank here, but she gets starting a new band. What the hell? Help me out here.
Yeah, I have
that band.
I have it written down. I have it written down somewhere. I'm sorry.
Talk about women in rock. It's an all-female group,
and they do classic rock songs.
And and it's. I heard some songs they do, and it's
very very good. And it's all. And I think it's a mix of the girls from the. Heather, have you? There's not a lot out there to check out of her besides some YouTube stuff. Have you looked into her at all?
I did. I had not heard of her prior to this, but looked her up, and I love Maiden. And I thought, an all-female, I had no idea there was an all-female Iron Maiden cover band. But I was in immediately.
Awesome.
This worked for me. This worked big for me. And I thought she was very good. And then I saw that she plays with Alice. And if you play with Alice, then you got to have your shit together. So I like her.
The name of the band that she just started is We Start Wars. It has her on guitar, Alicia Vigil from Vigil of War on bass, Sina on vocals, Nicole Papastavru on guitar, Kat Scarlett from Femme Fatale on keyboards, and Lindsay Martin on drums.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go right back across the table to BC.
I'm going to go with my weakest pick. Help me out with this pronunciation. Christina Scabbia.
Okay.
Correct?
Either close. I think the pronunciation, sorry out there, Christina. I think it's pronounced Scabja, I think.
Scabja. I've heard it probably about 7 different ways. She's a
Why can't these people be called Smith?
She's one of the 2 vocalists for Lacuna Coil, which, again, in this moment, is a band with a distinctive sound. And differently than Maria, she can sing more...
A little more melodically?
Melodic is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. And they're considered Italian Gothic. I didn't know there was different flavors of Gothic. But I'm learning this as we go along. I mean, I love songs like Our Truth, Heaven's a Lie, Blood, Tears, Dust, Into Time. And she's also done a lot of things with other people, and including one of them would be Megadeth. She's on the remake of A Tout Le Monde.
A Two Mays on Me.
A Tout Le Monde, and she drinks the beer too, I think. But
I think she drinks a Megadeth beer. She sings a song called Scars on the Metal Allegiance album. That is, if you want to hear a metal album, there's thrash, heavy metal on there. It's called Metal Allegiance. It's Mike Portnoy and David Ellison and a bunch of different guys on there. And Christina sings one of the songs on there. It's called Scars. So you guys, if you really want to have some rip your head off heavy metal, check out Metal Allegiance, and you will hear Christina on that. You'll hear the singer from Lamb of God. You'll hear Chuck Billy from Testament on there. Just a ton of Philip Anselmo from Pantera sings on there. So I just wanted to throw that album out there real quick. Heather, have you checked out Lacuna Coil at all?
Yeah, I know Lacuna Coil, and I think that Christina, her voice is so beautiful. I agree. It's much more on the melodic side. I actually was thinking when I hear her sing, because it's such a sort of a counter to the male singer whose name is escaping me, but it starts with an M, and Lacuna Coil, I believe, Marco or Mario or something like that.
Something like Mario.
Yeah.
Fine.
Mario. But anyway, it's such a contrast in style to him. And I thought, I'd love to hear her do an album by herself.
That would be cool.
Not even necessarily a metal album, but I'd listen to it, either way. But it's such a beautiful, beautiful, very natural singing voice. And she's also a hell of an actress. I'm not sure if you have ever seen the video for You Love Me Because I Hate You, but it's a little mini movie, and it's fantastic. I've never seen anything like it before. It's really fantastic.
That's cool. We'll definitely have to check that out. And Marco Cotizzolati is the other singer in that band there.
Marco. Sorry, Marco. I know you're listening. I apologize.
No problem. We're going to have these guys call in when we mispronounce their names.
I follow her on Facebook, and I guess she does a lot of, when they're out on tour, just videos of her during the day. And
every day.
She wakes up in the morning, she's doing a video, and she's very, I guess I never met her, but you can tell just from, she's very down to earth, I think, very real.
Hanging with the fans
type girl. I'm a rock star or nothing like that.
That's cool. Very down to earth. Okay, very cool, Christina Scabbia. Sorry for butchering your name once again. And Heather, who do you have up for next for us, sir?
I have the one and only Ann Wilson.
Ann Wilson.
Of Heart. My girl.
What a voice on her. Oh my God. Just insane,
I love her.
insane voice.
And beautiful soprano. And I specifically picked her by herself because I've always felt that Nancy gets more attention because Nancy is very pretty. And Ann is a little heavier, and I think that more people tended to pay attention to Nancy. But to me, Ann is the heart and soul of that band, and delivers in her vocals. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but she first started to get into music because she had a stutter when she spoke.
Oh, really?
And so she turned to music as an escape. Man, I love all things Heart. I'm a big fan.
I do too. I mean, her voice it's very distinctive. If you hear, like, even when they do, because they pretty much, I think, started out like as like a Zeppelin cover band, and hearing her just sing like rock, even rock and roll, and believe me, I'm not taking anything away from the original, into that in a second, but like just hearing her, like, a lot of people, you hear them sing Robert Plant and you're like, okay. But you hear her sing, you're like, holy shit, like, what a great, take on his vocals, and she's fantastic. Just listen to, and anyone out there listening to our show, that we are not huge fans of ballads or stuff like that. But like today I listened to the song Alone. Oh my God, just like insanely good vocals on her, just like crazy.
I am a big fan mostly of their 70s stuff. Dog and Butterfly, Straight On is one of my favorite Heart songs. I mean, she's just got attitude, and man, she's so good. I like their 80s stuff. They started to lose me in the early 90s with some of their songs. What was that one song they did? Was it All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, or something about a hotel and someone's checking in? And I was like, oh, what is happening here? But love her vocals. She did some vocals on Alice in Chains songs. Lane Staley did some vocals on some of her stuff, and I love her. Man, I can't say a bad thing about her. I just love her.
Yeah, she's just fantastic. What do you think, BC?
I love Heart. I mean, that's one of my guilty pleasures, you might say.
Heart's Heart.
I Heart. Like you said,
guilty pleasure, BC. Tell me about that.
All right. Okay. Anyways, back in 1991, I picked up. They had a Rock the House Live album that came out, and that was my first actual buying something of Heart. I mean, I knew of Heart and I heard songs of Heart before that, but that what really got me into them. Like you said, you kind of lost them in the 80s. I kind of got into them in the 80s, I guess. And then now I got back into their stuff in the 70s and stuff. Even to today's, to this very day, I guess she's a powerhouse vocalist. But I like Nancy a little bit. I mean, that's what got me into them. And I mean, there's a few albums after that, and that's my guilty pleasure. Heart.
I don't know. I don't think you should be guilty about it.
No.
They're a quality group.
I'm old enough now. I'm secure in my music.
That's right. You like what you like, Okay, Ann Wilson, Heart, awesome stuff out there. And I'm going to go. We're into our last pick. I'm going to say BC. Go ahead.
I'm going to go with Janet Gardner of Vixen. And getting back to my 80s roots here.
What number was she on the hot list, BC?
I don't think she's too old. She's 55 years old. She don't make the metal chicks list or whatever they have now. I mean, Vixen, they came out. I mean, I want to say they came out, and again, here's a band that back in the 80s, you had all these guys. I mean, rock was crazy, and here's an all girl.
Yeah,
probably really, the first all girl band since maybe the Runaways.
Well, you had you had the Go-Go's.
Well, I'm talking about hard rock.
Because they had the beat.
They had the beat, all right. But they came out and
they rocked.
I Want You to Rock Me, One Night Alone, Love Made Me. I mean, we just saw them, how many years ago in M3?
We saw two different versions. We saw the JMJC or whatever.
Yeah, the lawyer.
That was they weren't allowed to be called Vixen at the time because of the there was a lawsuit going on.
The original,
so they had to keep one with the initials of the the girls in the band, but now they are
Back to
called
Vixen.
Vixen once again.
And then they followed up with Rev It Up, which I thought was
Rev It Up was great.
Rev It Up, How Much Love, Streets in Paradise, which I think is a good song, which probably nobody else does. But they opened at M3 last time we saw them with that. And then they kind of they broke up after that. There was a little tension.
They had some back and forth going on there.
And then they got together without the original guitarist in '98 for an album called Tangerine, which was kind of grungy, in my opinion.
It was a little not what you're used
Nah,
to.
it wasn't the
throw a Vixen album in. It wasn't what you would
traditional
think you were
Vixen sound, but they kind of went away after that, even till
recently. Within the last couple of years.
But on a side note, I just learned doing my homework. You're never too old to learn. She just bought a solo CD last month with her husband, Justin James, which is her guitar player in her solo band. It's not what I thought it would be.
It's not. It's good.
It's good.
But
It's harder.
If you
harder.
if you think you're gonna hear Vixen when you put that album on, you're not
gonna hear
going
it.
to.
It's like
You
Hypocrite.
will be crying.
You will be crying because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a lot harder. and we're not saying it bad.
It's good, though. It is
It's
good.
very good. It's harder with the modern edge. I guess you could say like
does it.
Hypocrite and If You Want Me. I mean, I was very surprised when I was expecting maybe
Vixen-ish.
Vixen-ish, maybe acoustic, more like relationship love
It was
songs.
totally the
maybe
opposite
and
of what you thought it was going to be.
and she's dropping the F-bomb in the album. I mean, it was very different than what I thought it would
Terrible.
Well, that's unnecessary.
be. But I mean, that was my surprise one of my surprises. I won't mention the other ones.
It's
but
good, though.
It's very good. Check out Vixen and check out her solo album because I'm going to pick it up.
Janet Gardner. Heather, anything?
Not really. I wasn't. This one, you lost me on this one. I have never been a Vixen fan. I did find it really interesting, though, that Edge of a Broken Heart was actually co-written and produced and arranged by none other than Richard Marx.
Yep.
Richard Marx. Good.
I had no
He
idea.
was good.
I
He
had
was
no
really
idea.
good.
I saw him in concert at, I think it was like Duquesne University back in the 80s. And his guitar player at the time was Ben from the Waltons.
Really?
The TV show? Really?
Los Angeles.
Get
Yes.
up.
Good night, Ben.
Thanks, Mark.
That's crazy. Awesome. Okay, Janet Gardner, lead singer for Vixen, and she's got a solo album out now. And Heather, what's your last pick for this evening?
I'm closing with my number one idol, Women in Rock, and that is the awesome Pat Benatar.
Oh my God! How can you cannot go wrong with Pat Benatar?
She is number one for me. I don't even know where to begin with Pat, frankly. I think about how she was going to go to Juilliard, continue her training as something that's called a coloratura, which I looked into, and apparently that is a soprano with castration.
Okay.
Ouch.
I'm assuming that she was not going to have the castration. I believe that was sort of old school in Italy would happen with male singers. But anyway,
I say, how can you do that to a female?
Yeah, I digress.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's right, another show. But she didn't go to Juilliard, and then I think she became a bank teller or something like that. And if you remember, I mean, I just can't imagine Pat Benatar just staying a bank teller and us not having the opportunity to hear her sing, you know. But anyway, I guess she went to I think it was like a Liza Minnelli concert or something like that, and said that's it. She quit her job and she started singing. So thank you, Liza. I know you're a regular listener of the podcast, and thank you for inspiring Pat. My favorite song by her is "We Live for Love" and "Promises in the Dark." "We Live for Love" is from "In the Heat of the Night," which was her debut record back in '79. She also did the cover of John Mellencamp's "I Need a Lover," was on that too. Then, of course, 1980, "Hit Me With Your Best Shot," "Treat Me Right," "You Better Run."
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe that when I started to look into how well some of my favorite songs of hers did, and "Precious Time" came out in '81. That was the one with "Promises in the Dark," and I could not believe that didn't go any higher than 38 on the charts. I just think that's one of her best songs and one of the best rock songs frankly.
What song was that?
Promises in the Dark.
Oh, excellent song. Starts out slow, then kicks in. It is a great song. My personal favorite of hers is the song called Invincible. It's from the movie. What is it? Billie Jean, the Legend of Billie Jean, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Great song. I always liked that song because I could actually right now see this scene in the movie where that's playing and Helen Slater's walking down the beach towards the guy that like was assaulting her and stuff, and they burned his thing down or his stand down or whatever. But like a great song, and she just put a live album out. I'm gonna say maybe 3 years ago, and I picked. It was fantastic. Whenever I do a playlist, that song has not been left off a playlist in like 4 years for me. Like, and that just comes on like a longer solo in it, and you know you can't talk about Pat Benatar without talking about her husband, guitar player Neil Giraldo, a fantastic guitar player. Those guys, they've been together since the beginning, and that's rare, especially in in this industry, for someone to stay together for that long and still to be out there doing what they're doing. Just Pat Benatar is just phenomenal. How about you, BC?
I have to agree with everybody so far. I mean, phenomenal. If anybody follows me, back in the 70s, I was Kiss. And then as you started branching out, how can anybody not know Pat Benatar? I mean, like you said, You Better Run, Treat Me Right, and my all-time favorite is Hell is for Children. And to this very day, I mean, like you said, she does a lot of shows with her husband, like dual shows. And
I gotta say, Heather, you had some awesome picks, and I really think this episode is working out excellent because we have covered. We went from origins of women in rock to mid 70s, 80s, and which my pick is going to get right back into that, and then to the modern hard rock and metal stuff with BC's picks. It's just. And it wasn't intentional. And anybody out there listening, our assignment was pick who you think you want to talk about. So it wasn't okay. BC, you pick modern ones, and I'll pick the middle of the road stuff, and Heather, you pick the older stuff. That was not anything that was put out there. It was just like give me who you want, and it turned out that way, and it turned out great. Any last thoughts on Pat there, Heather?
No, I mean, I think one of the things that I love about her, and that she's another one that has really shaped me as an adult woman, and she did as a teenager, was, in the 70s, we grew up listening to AM radio and these sad songs about women who had been done wrong, and why did you break my heart, and why did you leave me with the kids, and why did you do this, and I'll never be complete again. And Pat came in and said, don't screw this up, because I will cut you. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't know who this is, but I'm in. And I mean, I just loved her because she just was ballsy, and she just wouldn't take any shit. And she's this little tiny, like 4'11" woman, and she's just, and she's just powerful, and she's tough, and she just doesn't take shit from anybody. And I love her for that.
Yeah, she is really awesome. I mean, I grew up hearing all of the big songs on the radio, Heartbreaker, which I think still, for being a song that's constantly played over and over, it still packs a pretty powerful punch. And, of course, Hit Me With Your Best Shot. Of course, when I was younger, my dad would always change the lyrics to it. So it was
like everyone else did. It's not just me.
It was Hit Me with a Wet Snot. So that's what me and my brother always grew up singing. And
then you have Heartbreaker with George Steinbrenner singing it on
Shoemaker.
Heartbreaker.
Won't you fix my shoes for free?
Hey, you kids are up on all the new tunes. Tell me if this one rings a bell. Heartbreaker, Love Taker, Shoemaker, won't you fix my shoes for free? Huh? Anything? Shorty?
But I mean, Pat Benatar. Classic artist, and she's great, and I'm had such a good time doing this episode, and I'm gonna have the last pick here today, and I'm gonna go with Lita Ford. I don't know if you want to call it cheating or whatever. The three of my picks was, one of them was the Runaways, the other was Joan Jett and Lita Ford, which all of them are, Lita and Joan were in the Runaways. Lita Ford just really came out and rocked. She wanted she didn't want to do an all-female band. Joan Jett kind of went the more of I'm going to say, the popular music type of rock and roll, where Lita kind of went towards the more of hard rock kind of stuff. And I think they both found their niche in what they were putting out there. You know, and I don't remember that it was ever a competition. I don't remember ever hearing some Joan Jett fan saying, you know, Joan's better than Lita or any kind of shit like that. But they each had their kind of niche in what they were doing. And Lita's first album, Out for Blood, which I have to personally say, I never had that until later on. I don't remember when that first came out, but I saw the video for Gotta Let Go from Dancing on the Edge. And actually, Dancing on the Edge, I believe, was one of our picks for sophomore albums. And it's just a great album. And she has a ton of good stuff out there. Great live. And I'm going to give you a quick story interwoven with another quick story here. We were at M3 last year. We saw Lita Ford maybe 3 or 4 years ago on the one tour she was on, and she was recording a live album at the time, and she said it came out like after the tour that if any fans have photos of her from the tour, send them in, and we will pick certain ones out to be in a Monte live album. So BB, our other faithful co-host here, he took an awesome picture of her with the double neck guitar in black and white. He submitted that to her I don't know if it was their management company or whatever, and they ended up picking his picture to be on the inside of the album cover. So if you have the Lita Ford live album, so when you look on the inside of that, when you see the black and white picture of Lita with the double neck guitar, that's going to be BB's picture. And Lita was the special guest host at M3 this year, and he was standing in line to get that. He had that picture to get signed, and he had the CD sleeve to get signed. But Lita was only signing one thing at the time, and BB said she's only going to sign one thing per person. Someone needs to come down and get in line with me. So I said I will. So I got in line with BB. So we were there, and then people were starting to do rumblings of, oh, she's only going to sign so many things, and you know they're going to cut the line off. And I was like I totally irate. I'm like, if they shut this line down before we get there, they're gonna fucking throw me out because I'm gonna be so pissed off. And they literally cut the line off like 5 people after us. So we finally get up to Lita, and BB says, hey, this is one of the pictures. She goes, oh my God, I remember that picture. She signed it, and then she signed it to BB. So I had the album jacket. She goes, what do you want me to put? I said, sign it to him. I said, I'm in line to get it signed for him. She goes, that's so cool. You're doing that for your friend. And then the promotion people were getting pissed off because she was talking to us and stuff. So we kind of had to move along. So at least we got BB's thing signed. And but going back to Lita Ford, just a phenomenal artist. And The Bitch Is Back Live is the album that is from. Heather, any stuff for Lita Ford first?
I don't have a depth of knowledge of her stuff other than I love Kiss Me Deadly. I know it's her most popular song, but I love it and still listen to it all the time. She's gone through some stuff.
Yes.
She's a little bit nutty, and I really feel for her, and I hope she can kind of get it together. My heart breaks for her. I think she's had it's tough to be a woman in the business out here, and especially starting at a young age that she did with Joan and Terry, and I think she's just had a pretty tough go of it, and I want her to be well and healthy and happy, and that's about all.
Yeah, she seems to be well on her path. She's doing a lot of cool stuff now. Just a phenomenal artist, really. I mean, and I'll tell you what, she is a fantastic guitar player. She is just a kick-ass guitar player, and probably 70% of the solos that you hear on her albums are her playing.
Again, fucking, how can you go wrong with Lita Ford? I mean, like you said, Out for Blood, my personal favorite, Dancing on the Edge. And then she got kind of 80-ish there, but still stuck to her. She always put out solid stuff. And my claim to fame is I stopped a Lita Ford concert.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Look it up on YouTube.
Real. She does "Devil in My Head," where she does the first part a cappella. So there's one part where she says this one part, and BC yells out, "And it's with BC."
No,
and,
the part is.
Sorry, go ahead.
The one part a cappella, and you came back to me, and I yelled out, "You came back to BC," and she had to stop show.
Fucked her up. She had to stop and start over again.
The show. She had to start over again.
We were kind of hoping that would have been cool if she was recording that night and that was on there, and like she's like, "Oh my god, I got so fucked up," and it was BC, fucked it up for everybody.
That's great.
Oh my god, just like crazy. So everybody out there, that is our volume 1 of Women in Rock show, and I want to thank Heather from the bottom of our hearts for coming on the show. Any last words or comments, Heather?
Send me Texas from the Caruana.
Oh my god, she likes to torture herself.
Oh my God, I love the Caruana. I grew up going to the Caruana, and every time I get back to Pennsylvania, that's the first place that I go. But seriously, you guys, I am thrilled to have been asked to be a part of this. I hope I did okay.
You did great.
And I had a blast, so thank you so much.
You did awesome, and like I said, thanks again for coming on the show, and it was awesome. I don't recall another podcast recording live from the Rainbow, which you heard it first here on the Potter Than Hell podcast, which was great, and we appreciate Heather giving up her time on a Sunday to come and enjoy some good times with us here. And what do you got, BC?
Heather, it's great to I'm glad I turned you on to in this moment, and I'm hoping to get turned on. I'm excited about this glam skanks. I'm gonna look it up. You know what I mean?
Anything that has the word skank in it, BC likes.
I'm on it.
You won't be disappointed.
Cool.
Awesome. And I just want to say out there, everybody, tuning in, a female artist you want to talk about, let us know. Like I said, the first in a series of shows. I have a list in front of me of female rockers out there that I'm not going to mention them in this episode, but I figured this is too much of a cool topic to just limit to one episode. So, and talk for like 8 or 10 hours on this subject at least. So we have a ton more to come, a bunch of artists saved up that we're going to do. And I'm going to say this week I had a challenge thrown out to me from our sometime co-host, Sonny Pooney.
Hollywood.
He wants to do a debate episode against me. And he wants to do, in quotations, I think it's hair bands that some people like to call it. So, Sonny, I accept your challenge, and we will work out the details, and that will be coming up within the next little while because we have a ton of stuff already scheduled. But we will definitely do that, and we have some cool stuff scheduled with Sonny. Go ahead, BC.
Sonny, hey, when we were on one of the casts when you were co-hosting, you're talking about things we want to talk about. You're talking about ballots, and you thought you were gonna. I've been doing a little research. I'm ready for you.
Yeah, we're
I'm ready for you, man.
See, BC's even raring to go. And Sonny told me he bought his boxing gloves today, so I do accept your challenge. We will get together on when we're gonna do it. And there's a lot of cool stuff coming up here on Potter Than Hell
Hopefully
podcast.
we don't have a Tyson Holyfield fight where somebody's...
No, well, it's tough for me to bite his ear off from here to Milwaukee, so that will be kind of tough. And there's no fighting fair in this, so we'll talk about topics and how we're gonna do that. So, but I do accept the challenge, and you guys will hear it here. It'll have to be Potter Than Hell in a Cell 2, Since I totally kicked BC's ass in the last...
Do like the Die Harder because you already have an ER at the end of Potter.
That's true. So thanks everybody out there for tuning in. Thank you, Heather. And we really appreciate you guys. And we will see you next time on the Potter Than Hell podcast. And there will be a next time.